When the Switch was first announced, one of the biggest questions by fans, industry insiders, and investors alike was whether this would achieve the sales of a Wii or fall to the level of the Wii U. And while console sales obviously are year-round, we know that the hardware developers especially make the majority of their money in the last quarter of the calendar year, the last half of which is known as the holiday season, as it surrounds Thanksgiving, Black Friday, and Christmas. This is the time of year when parents buy for their kids, spouses, or significant others for each other, time for Christmas bonuses, and also the time of year that many of the biggest games, some of which are known as console sellers, are sold. So this is the third holiday season for the Nintendo Switch, and I have to wonder, will this be the biggest holiday Nintendo has ever seen? Let's talk about it. So I've got a bunch of reasons for us to consider why the Switch may perform well this holiday, but if this video is about making a comparison, then we first need to look back and see what we're comparing against. Let's look at holidays going back a year at a time for 10 years, because actually 10 years back appears to be the all-time high mark to compare against. Going back just a year to 2018, the fourth quarter saw sales of 9.41 million Nintendo Switches. The console seller games were primarily Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, and Super Mario Party. In 2017, the Switch's first holiday season saw 7.23 million consoles sold alongside Mario Odyssey and Xenoblade Chronicles, both released in that quarter. And now before that, we get into a pretty dark time, which is the poor sales of the Wii U. Get ready. In 2016, the Wii U's last holiday, it only sold 200,000 consoles, with no first-party games releasing that quarter with more than 1 million sales, which, by the way, is the criteria I'm using for the games that I'm mentioning. In 2015, the console sold 1.87 million and was accompanied by Yoshi's Woolly World in North America, and Super Mario Maker was in September, so just before the fourth quarter, but we're counting it just so there's something there. 2014 had pretty similar sales at 1.91 million, alongside the release of Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. The holiday before this, 2013, once again, came in just under 2 million at 1.95 million. And we saw Wii U Party, Wind Waker HD, Nintendo, please bring this to the Switch, and Super Mario 3D World. Finally, the first holiday for the Wii U, which was sadly its highest selling at 3.06 million, the holiday of 2012, only barely outsold the dwindling Wii sales that same year at 2.2 million. And that holiday saw Wii U releases of Nintendo Land and new Super Mario Bros. U, and no new games on the Wii, even though it almost sold as much as the Wii U. Okay, let's take a quick pause there. So now we've gone back 7 years, and the highest performing years were 2018 at 9.41 million, 2017 at 7.23, and then 2013 at 3.06. Honestly, I can imagine how discouraged Nintendo might have been during the Wii U life cycle on that note. But continuing on, let's look at 3 more years to round out the decade. 2011 was already winding down the Wii's sales trends with 5.61 million sales alongside releases of Kirby's Return to Dreamland and The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. The preceding year, in 2010, the Wii sold 8.74 million consoles alongside Wii Party, Kirby's Epic Yarn, Donkey Kong Country Returns, and Super Mario All-Star 25th Anniversary Edition. And the final year we'll take a look at is 2009, which boasts the insane numbers of 11.31 million consoles sold in the fourth quarter, which, from what I found, might be the highest home console sales in a single quarter ever. I can't fully confirm that, but it's the highest for Nintendo for sure, and possibly for any other console from what I found. And the games that came alongside it were New Super Mario Bros. Wii, Mario and Sonic at the Winter Games, Wii Fit Plus, and the first Just Dance, which isn't first party, but it's certainly notable. Okay, so that's the number to beat, I suppose. Now let's get into the Switch conversation. So what's it got going for it? Pokemon Power. We all know that Pokemon is a massive franchise, and even with all the controversy we saw this year with the national dex and all, I think we sometimes forget just how massive it really is. Last year we saw Pokemon Let's Go get right around 10 million sales in about 2 months, and that was a game that many core Pokemon fans seemingly skipped, or at least claimed that they would. This franchise has a powerful cycle behind it. The show introduces people to the games to the cards to the show, or in any other order, and the merchandise really just speaks for itself. Frankly, for every person falling off from the National Dex issues, there are absolutely going to be people to fill those voids, either because they're kids and they're just new to the series, or like what I've seen for many others, Sword and Shield is going to be the first mainline game to interest them or pull them back in for a long time. Also, if we're talking pure money figured, this game is $20 more expensive than all the past mainline games. So even if Nintendo sold the exact same number of copies as other years, they'd gross 50% more off that fact alone. All other games. This is obviously a broad headline, but for a reason. The fact of the matter is that this holiday, there are games such as Overwatch, The Witcher, Dragon Quest XI's, and obviously the incredibly exciting first-party games of Link's Awakening and Luigi's Mansion 3 and Pokemon, like we already mentioned. But even if those aren't the specific games that someone would want the console for, the old rhetoric of there are no games on Switch has so obviously become untrue by now. I talked 2 weeks ago about genres that still don't really show up as much, such as shooters, sim sports, and sim racing games, but besides that, the Switch is now home to some of the best platformers, RPGs, indies, and all sorts of other genres of games, including my favorite game of all time, Breath of the Wild. If someone was just waiting for the library to fill up, then the time has certainly arrived. Sales. And on top of that, a lot of folks wait for holiday to buy consoles, not only because that's the time of year they need to buy gifts, but even for themselves, because that's when Black Friday and Cyber Monday and Christmas sales all go underway. Last year, we didn't see any actual price drops on the Switch, and I don't really expect to see any this year either, but there are definitely better and better bundle deals, such as buy one console, get 2 games half off, and a $35 gift card, or games straight up bundled with a console, which is essentially a $60 price drop on the console, as long as you wanted that game in the first place. That said, it's still possible a price drop happens, but there's a couple of reasons I think it may not. Mostly because I don't think Nintendo feels it really needs to yet. Since the Switch is still selling incredibly well and on an upswing rather than a downturn, they'll want to keep the price high to make investors happy, to make them more money now, and to make the market value higher for longer so they can benefit off a drop later instead of on one now. And an even bigger reason they likely won't drop it this year relates to the last reason the Switch will perform so well this quarter. The Switch Lite. The Switch Lite is basically the 3DS killer, as it really is a handheld rather than a home console. Hang on, wait a minute. The handhelds. All right, you surely noticed it, and to be fair, I did it on purpose because that's how constructing a narrative on a video works, but the Switch Lite now makes us merge the conversation of Nintendo not only competing with the retrospective of home consoles, but also handhelds at the same time. This is obviously not a bad problem to have, as their handheld line really did save their business on several occasions, such as during the Wii U days and somewhat during the GameCube days as well. But if we were to add the handheld sales in with the home console sales for the past 10 years, they'd go from 1 year with a holiday over 10 million to 6 of them, 2 of which were 2017 and 2018 actually, so that's a pretty big difference. But at least it helps us frame the conversation. Before going down that path though, let's at least talk about what the Switch Lite does mean for this holiday season. Last week, we got the results from the Switch Lite's first weekend in Japan. The OG Switch sold 61,000 copies, which is just a bit above average, whereas the Switch Lite sold 177,000, which is just over half of what some were estimating, which was around 300,000. But here's why I don't think that's really worrisome at all. The fact of the matter is that the Switch Lite demographic really is specifically to those who would be less likely to buy it for themselves and fits in exactly the target for a gift. The price point, which is also the reason that I don't think the Switch will probably get a price drop this year, is currently exactly at $200, which means that there will likely be some kinds of holiday sales that'll make it even more affordable. At $200 with half off a game making it $170, or just straight up sale down to $175 or something like that. And once it hits a price cut that's anywhere under the $200 mark, it is a lot more palatable for not only purchases for yourself, but to buy as gifts. Exactly what makes this season sell so much more in the first place. So where a parent may have gotten one Switch for their kids to share and argue over, or one each for $600, they may opt for $100 more for no arguments, or save that $200 down from the two consoles. Or now someone who does have a Switch may get their significant other a Switch Lite to try to introduce them to the world without breaking the bank as much. Or finally, someone dumb like me may just get a Switch Lite because it's just fun to have new things, and even though I won't need it at all, it'll just be cool and fun. And since this console does replace the handheld line, and that's what Nintendo has always done best, it's just a recipe for success. And not to mention that all of its games are 50% more expensive, which does in fact suck for historically handheld gamers, but truly you are getting a full HD experience on a big handheld, so the production value is usually quite a lot better than the handheld games of the past anyway, even if that's not always the case. Okay, so let's revisit the thesis. Will this holiday be Nintendo's biggest ever? If we look at the top one so far, being 2009, there were just over 11 million Wiis sold for $200 each, and 11 million DSs for around $150. That's 22 million consoles all told. So can the Switch and Switch Lite sell 22 million consoles in one holiday? Absolutely not. It's just not going to happen. That's a whole lot of them. But with the power combined of the home console and handheld, could the Switch possibly outsell 11 million consoles this quarter? I actually think so. And their prices actually are more than the 2009 consoles, but not by quite enough to offset the quantity difference. But if they do outsell either one of those consoles, I'm pretty sure this would be the highest selling console in a holiday season ever, or at least for Nintendo, but I'm pretty sure ever. So even though the answer to the original question is technically no, that's somewhat because of a topic that we didn't even really touch on, but is that there are fewer core gamers in the world than there are casual gamers. And in 2009, the Wii and DSi were both selling primarily to the casual gamer demographic, whereas the Switch is a much healthier mix of the two. All told, the performance of a holiday 2009 will be hard to replicate ever again, but in the end, this will be a wonderful holiday season for core gamers, especially since all new games will be coming out in one unified place. But that's what I think. What do you think? Are you excited for the holiday season ahead? Will you be picking up Pokemon Sword, Pokemon Shield, or neither? Let me know all that and more down in the comment section below, and like the video and subscribe while you're down there. Normally we pull comments for our podcast, but I'll actually be out of town this week, so we won't pull any from this video for this week. But do check out our podcast directly to you for some fun times, and we'll pull comments from Tuesday's video, which was AJ's video, because he'll be doing the podcast in my absence, because normally we do it together, but we're not doing it together because I'm gone. And subscribe to fanatixfour for more videos like this every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, that's it from me. Have a great day and eat some pizza on my behalf. See you later.